You know, guys, I think it's time we actually stop and put a fork in the summer movie season. It's done. It's dead. It's toast. Tenant today officially moved from July 17th to July 31st, which you may not think is that big of a deal, and ultimately, in the grand scheme of life, it truly isn't. But Warner's moved Wonder Woman 1984 from the middle of August now to the beginning of October, taking the slot that was going to be taken by Venom 2. Now we get to see what Wonder Woman's going to do at that point in time. And there's even been some marquees out there that are saying that it's going to take place at Thanksgiving, although I think those are ones that are in Canada, and that could be where the confusion is coming from. That being said, with this new shifting and everything, this new shift and these two major releases, there's nothing that's out there. I mean, you know what? Some theaters are reopening in California. I think only 15 are opening up this weekend. They're playing a lot of older movies. Right now, drive-ins are kind of all the rage because that is where people can go sit in their car and watch the movie and get that social distancing that everybody needs in order to stay safe. I mean, hell, even Bruce Campbell is taking Evil Dead on a tour, on a drive-in tour, where they're going to be playing a special remastered 4K edition of The Evil Dead, and it's not coming anywhere near me. Bruce, baby, buddy, we live in the same general region of the Pacific Northwest. Bring it here. What is wrong with you? Bring it to the Northwest. I will be there in a heartbeat for a double feature of Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. But I believe that's what it is. I could be wrong. It could just be the first Evil Dead. But I think it's a double feature. Drive-ins are generally considered double features. So, looking at everything, looking at the fact that Disney has dropped Artemis Fowl today on Disney Plus to terrible reviews. They have another movie, an animated movie about Ivan something or another, that's going now to Disney Plus, not going to theaters. We're seeing a lot of the shifting, a lot of the changes, which tells me that, yeah, the movie theater industry is going to be in for a very, 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 very long recovery process. And it's weird to think, right? It's weird to think that this is going to take a lot of time. You figure it should be pretty easy. It should be pretty basic to kind of put theaters back together, right? It's just a bunch of people sitting in a room. They're all looking straight ahead. They're not really interacting with one another. How do you do this thing to where everyone's going to be fine? Actually, it's easier said than done, but the thing is, Hollywood doesn't want to do it, or at least they don't want to admit to it yet. Right now, everything's kind of in a soft open, so they're going to be playing older movies in order to lure people in. So if there's some that you missed, you might get the opportunity to check it out. Like, in fact, I do believe that the Inception is going to be going back to theaters this July, right before Tenet comes out, because Inception's more of a soft open for Tenet. And you know what? I haven't seen Inception since 2010 or 20. Yeah, I think it was 2010 or 2011. I think 2010. I haven't seen it since then. I've only seen it one time, so I'm definitely down to go and watch it again. And if they want to start releasing other Christopher Nolan movies in theaters, why not give us the Dark Knight trilogy? I mean, how many people would flock to go see Heath Ledger on the big screen once again? I know I certainly would. So this is going to be a time for those kind of situations to test the waters. But here's how you actually do it. Here's what Hollywood needs to do. You need to work with movie theaters in order to limit the movies that are going out, but then put them in more auditoriums, allowing for social distancing measures to be taken into effect. This is something that they should have already been talking about if they weren't already. And I think any person who's ever spent any amount of time in a theater, whether you've worked there or you're you're just an average movie fan, you go, oh, okay, cool. Now, I do a lot of food delivery. I do Uber and I do DoorDash, and I enjoy what I do. So, but it takes me to a lot of restaurants here in Olympia, Washington, where right now we're currently in phase 2, which means that restaurants can be open provided that they actually, follow the social distancing guidelines. And a lot of the times that just means plexiglass between stalls and things along those lines, no one sitting at the bar, stuff like that. But what it really shows me is that it can be done. You can have people in close proximity and find a way to make it work. But what it's going to ultimately do is it's going to probably end up really separating out people's experiences, which may not be the best thing, because honestly, right now, you're going to need to get families back in theaters in order for families to spend the money, because kids have been cooped up for a number of months. So they absolutely positively want to get the hell out. They absolutely positively want to go see something. And so the fact is that these studios, and maybe they are, and I just haven't been seeing them, aren't like gearing up to just re-release animated classics or family-friendly classics is just beyond me. I mean, I know the Goonies is something that's going to be coming back to a couple places, and that's really cool. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to check out Goonies. But is it going to draw in the younger crowd for right now? No, it's going to probably bring like the older people like me who are in our 30s and 40s who grew up watching Goonies that are going to want to go out to go see it. And maybe it will make some kind of money. But really what you do is you just spread the movies out across multiple theaters. And then you sit there and you make a divide every 2 seats, because there's usually an even amount of seats in between in the rows. So you just put a divider between the 2 seats. People go on dates or people sit by themselves or whatever. It's going to be fine. That's how you separate it out. Or you just you run at 50% capacity per theater, and you kind of go, okay, we're going to have this movie playing in like 4 screens. And as a total of at this theater, we're going to have maybe 4 or 3 movies playing at any given time. Now, that's going to suck for people who want to go see more than one movie. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow for companies to make their money, because people aren't going to be cut out, right? You have to realize at this point in time, you have to have the abundancy of availability is going to be key. If you start trying to create the supply and demand route for this, which some theaters might be trying to do, I think it's going to blow up in their face. It's too uncertain right now. You need to make it as easy and inviting to get in and get out and have fun as humanly possible. And that is why I think having them spread out across multiple theaters playing the same movie is going to be super easy. And the thing is, even with digital technology right now, oh my God, it's so easy. It's so freaking easy. You know, they can just have the movie, they have everything stored on servers. They go right to the digital projector. You're good. You're ready to go. Back in the day, I went to go see The Matrix Reloaded at a special advanced screening in Burbank, California back in 2003. It was a 10 screen theater, and they had it playing in all 10 screens, and they only had like 4 prints. How they made it work was they basically designed this system that ran the movie through multiple projectors by just having like a couple minutes of lead-in black film in order to be able to keep it on a timer. And so they've been able to do this for years, but now with everything being digital, super simple, super easy, barely an inconvenience. And this is how Hollywood should absolutely look at trying to save the summer movie season, or at least save theaters. You know, my interest here is all about trying to save and protect the theaters. And with Warner Brothers shifting everything, and maybe Mulan coming out in mid-July, I don't know. I mean, we're seeing reports coming out of China that like a large portion of their movie theaters are independently owned, and therefore they're not going to be able to survive this particular situation, and that they might have to shut down for good. There's going to be small independent chains here in the States that are going to probably have to do the same thing if they don't get a kind of bailout. There's a lot going on with this, and so they need to find a way to reopen as fast as possible. The problem, though, is that you have these phases between each state. You know, especially here in Washington, we're on phase 2. In my county, there's only been 150 confirmed cases with 2 deaths. That is actually going up now due to the protests in Seattle. Los Angeles, because of the protests, have seen record new cases. So that's going to then cause a lot of this to kind of reset itself back to zero, and we're going to be stuck once again. But in areas where we don't have those kinds of citywide protests, where cases have, I should say in counties, really in counties, because this is going to be a county by county thing in most states, they should be able to open them up. Now, unfortunately, the provisions once you get to the theater are going to be a different story. So, I mean, they could have somebody taking temperatures when people go see them. It's very simple to do. They just run a little device right by your head. You're good to go. I mean, every time I go to the doctor's office, or I have to go pretty much anywhere official, I have to do that. You know, and I think people would be fine with that going in. It's security theater is really what they need to invest into. And when I talk about security theater, what I'm referring to is the same thing we get with the TSA. The TSA doesn't really prevent much. They don't really do anything. They're just there as a preventative measure, and they're there to make you feel safe. And at the end of the day, because this whole situation is not as bad in certain areas as it is in other areas, but the fear is still there. They're going to need to work on the security theater in order to make people feel comfortable enough to want to go back to the theater. And I'm telling you, after watching how many restaurants have been blowing up with business these last 2 weeks, at least where I live, people are aching to get the hell out. They are aching to get back out there and start living their life again. I mean, that's all they have to do is just work on trying to create enough of a safe environment that appears probably more safe than it is, because let's be fair, it's always going to be like that. But I think people will adhere to the social guidelines, adhere to the distancing restrictions, because they want to go out and enjoy themselves. And that's what they need to do. And the studio should be actively working with theaters to make this a reality. And the thing is, I don't feel like they are. Maybe I'm not seeing reports of it. I'm seeing like AMC and Regal and Cinemark, and they're kind of, they're all doing their own different things when they should be actively working together because this impacts all of them. And the studio should be right there with them because it impacts all of them, with the exception of Universal and AMC, because that whole feud is still going on, but it'll be resolved pretty quick. Anyway, like, the summer movie season is gone. That's true. At this point, it's dead. All right. Tenet's not going to save it. Tenet should be pushed back to December, but there are things they could do to save it. But the question then becomes, will they? And honestly, I can't tell you. I don't know. And I wish I did, because I haven't been to the movie theater since February and I am itching to go. So get your crap together and take my goddamn money. Right? Anyway, your guys' thoughts, your guys' opinions on this, let me know down in the comments below. I look forward to hearing them. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Thank you again for watching, and peace out.